Hello, everyone. Welcome to another sociology lecture. We are going to talk about um, one of the grand theories in sociology, structural functionalism today. Probably in my introductory lectures, I mentioned that in the 19th century and the beginning of 20th century, the sociology was shaping as a discipline. And that's when Auguste Comte coined the term sociology, and few theorists, classical sociological theorists like Durkheim, Karl Marx, Weber, was introducing their idea of how society can be explained, how society can be scientifically studied. Auguste Comte and Emily Durkheim, who introduced structural functionalism, one of the grand theories in sociology, they were more positivist. Like they believed in the quantitative study in sociology, or they used more of to understand society. We need quantitative study of society, which is true. We need to have a quantitative the research methods to understand the structural measures in society. However, that is not enough, right? So what we're going to do today is we are going to talk about structural functionalism, which was introduced by Emily Durkheim. And we will explore the idea of structural functionalism, how that explains society, what are the main concepts in structural functionalism. We will talk about some of the scholars that most contributed mostly to structural functionalism today. So structural functionalism, beside conflict theory, is symbolic interactionism, one of the grand theories in sociology. According to Durkheim, society consists of these social institutions, which is family, law, politics, government, healthcare system. What makes them social institutions is they have a certain structure built around their functions in society. For example, if we take family as one of the social institutions, family has its structure. It can be nuclear family, it can be extended family, which is mom and dad and children, and then their parents, maybe like grandma, grandpa, auntie, uncle, that's extended family. It can be single parent family, which mom or dad lives with children. It can be one person family, that sole person is a family. It can be also same-sex families. It can those numerous structures is the structures of family. Wherever you go in the world, you can see one of these structures. Also, we can talk about this family structures, that family as an institution has its function in society. What are some of the functions of family? So they can be reproduction, it can be financial, emotional, or all other kinds of support. It can be, family can be agents of socialization. We teach our children to how to hold a spoon and how to read, how to write, or how to walk, how to brush their teeth. Those are the agent, family as an agent of socialization. Another functions can be keep society orderly, like we administered under our parents' name, and when we get married, we registered our marriage. It's just a basic administration in society. So this kind of stuff can be considered as functions of family. All the institutions we mentioned, law or politics or government or other institutions, have their own structures and functions. According to Durkheim, all these institutions work in harmony. So they interact and work in harmony to keep this society balanced. It's like a human organism, like we have heart, we have lungs, we have liver, we have brain, we have eyes, we have all these kind of organs in our body that they have certain structure and function. All of them together keeps our body functioning. So if one of them doesn't work, that just whole body is affected by it. So according to structural functionalism, the society is organized and functions in the same way. So if one of the structures, one of the institutions does not work well, for example, education, well, next generations of doctors and engineers and other professionals may not be that great, and that affects society. If, for example, economy is in crisis, that affects all other institutions. So that is structural functionalist view of society. So what I'm going to do right now is I'll share my PowerPoint, and then I will get into the understanding of structural functionalism a little bit better. Okay, just give me a second. Here you go. So if we look at the definitions or brief explanation of structural functionalism, it is a sociological perspective that views society as a complex systems with interrelated parts working together to maintain stability and order. As I already explained, there are so many social institutions. They have structure and function. Beside that, they have certain norms in each institution. For example, your family has their own norms. It can be like when whole family sits and eats their dinner. Maybe in our modern society, that the children are also working after school and they are not there for dinner. But family makes a norm of saying like, hey, wherever you are, you need to be at home. And on Sundays, 5 to 6 or 5 o'clock to have dinner together. You have your room and you have certain kind of schedules, what you do, like somebody cooks all the time in the family. Maybe mom is the one who's cooking all the time, and in the weekend, maybe dad does the barbecue. I don't know. Whatever the structure or the norms in your family is the norms in your family. All the families together make certain kind of norms that is just about family. Family is about supporting one another. Just it's coming from the function of it in society. Also other institutions. For example, when you go to healthcare, when you go to hospital, you go and you will follow the rules and norms in that institution. You will go and get your number and wait for the nurse, and you will tell them what's going on, and they will direct you to certain department to be checked, right? So that is the norms in healthcare system or hospital. And if you need, they can send you to some other clinics for further examination or treatment, right? So that is their norms. Like family and healthcare, that law has its own norms, and politics and government has its structures, functions, and norms. All these norms together make social norms. And we communicate, or the institutions interact with one another through socialization. The socialization is the way we interact, right? So we internalize the social norms of these institutions, and then we know what to do when we go to them. Each part of society serves a function that contributes to the whole society, whether it's institution like family, education, or law. All of them work together to keep this stability, which I already explained. So this order is maintained because these institutions work together. According to structural functionalism, we don't have to do too much to keep this order because institutions have their own norms, and by requiring to follow these norms, they just keep the stability. Structural functionalists see everything as being part of society, and society needs them. Anything society has, that means that needs them, even crime and deviance. And we will explore more about why deviance, according to structural functionalists, is a very functional part of society. They view deviance as being the one of the things that keeps the social order. Without having deviance in crime, maybe boundaries between what's right and what's wrong, or what's norm and what's not norm or deviance, is a bit gray. Maybe we don't know exactly clearly what are the norms. And only through deviance and crime, those norms are challenged, and making people aware of those societal changes. Some of the key theorists in structural functionalism are the follows: that the structural functionalism introduced by Emile Durkheim. Emile Durkheim was born in 1858 and lived until 1917, and he was the one who did a considerable amount of work towards making people understand how structural functionalism views society. That is one of the way of seeing society. He was one of the founders of sociology and the main founder of structural functionalism. He talked about, in his writings, he talked about social institutions, social norms, and also he talked about social facts, which is we called the things external to us, but that affects our lives. For example, the social facts, or let's say birth rates or death rates, or how many students coming to university to study, to see how many people are graduating from medical discipline, or how many students are getting jobs, and how many people in society, or how many percent of population is unemployed. Those are social facts. Talcott Parsons continued Emile Durkheim's work and built on it, and he even makes certain things even more understandable that introduced by Emile Durkheim, but Talcott Parsons made them even more better and advanced. He developed the systematic theory of social structures. Social structures were introduced by Durkheim: social institutions, social facts, social norms, and Parsons developed the theory of social structures, focusing on how societal values are maintained through functional integration. Every institution has their own values and norms. If we break those norms, we're just kind of punished or brought back, sanctioned to maintain that social norms or values. All of us have our roles in social institutions. For example, you can be a daughter or a son in your family, and there is your father or mother. Their role is of being father or mother. In the same time, your father can be a doctor, and his role in the healthcare system, he's a doctor. He can be also part of certain political party, and he has a role in the political party. You can be also a student at the university, or a friend to your dog, or friend to your friend. So your roles change from one institution to another institution. In every institution, the wealth of society or resources are distributed based on the roles we maintain. For example, as a student, when you come to university, because you're registered in the university, you have a table or desk to sit and chair to sit, probably computers provided by your parents, or you worked and got your computer. You have your books, and all of these resources are distributed to you because of your role as a student. If you work in one of the workplaces, around university, let's say in Tim Hortons or McDonald's. Maybe you work in the library. And as you have that role, your resources and everything is distributed based on your role. So when we think about social institutions, norms and values, and the role people hold within the institutions, we will slowly understand how this harmony works in society. However, the structural functionalists also worked very hard to understand functions and dysfunctions in society, that there are functions that we assign to institutions. For example, the main function of education system is providing education, bring the next generation of professionals. But however, when we go to university, we meet other people, and somebody maybe meet somebody to get married in the future, or maybe somebody signs up for soccer and becomes the best soccer player. That is the latent function of university. Primary functions are shaped by the functions of that social institution, but latent functions are not assigned functions, but just what things happen. Sometimes when you are at the university, you can also meet a group of people who likes to drink and party, and then as a result you can end up not doing well at the university, maybe dropping off some courses, maybe quitting university. That would be the dysfunction of university. So structural functionalists try to explain the functions and dysfunctions of society. So some of the structural functionalist scholars worked on different things, different areas to understand why does society need this stuff? For example, crime, deviance. One of those people was Robert Merton. He was born in 1910 and lived until 2003. He built on Durkheim's work of understanding how to explain strain in society, or crime and deviance in society. So according to structural functionalists, crime has a role in society. We will discuss in a bit. And as I mentioned, it just kind of keeps people aware of what is right and what's wrong. And it can also helps to keep order in society. So let's chat a little bit about deviance. What is deviance? So we have social norms. We said the family has its own norms and other institutions have their own norms. If we think about norms, we can understand deviance as well. As soon as you break these norms, you can be considered as deviant. For example, if your family that getting married to people from the family's background, wherever you're from, you can be from Europe, you can be from India, or I was born in Uzbekistan. If you are from Uzbekistan, or because of your religion, maybe you're a Christian, maybe you're a Muslim, maybe you're other religion, and your family expects you to marry somebody from that religion, that culture, that background, right? If one of the family members introduces their partner or somebody they want to get married with from the different background, that can be considered as deviant. So you are breaking the norms of your family in marrying somebody else from different background. So deviance is not always synonymous to crime. Deviance can be some of the norms established in the social institution, and breaking those norms can be deviance. Sometimes norms can be pretty harmful, and breaking that norms still considered as deviance. For example, during that, the slavery, some of the slaves who tried to escape or tried to change status quo considered as deviant. So they're not listening to their authorities, so they are breaking the norms. Now it changed, it flipped, right? Now we think that race or slavery is not only deviance, it's a crime against humanity, right? So that norms are fluid and they can change, and therefore the deviance and deviant behavior also fluid. It can change based on norms. Norms are established by social institutions like family, religion, law, obviously, the governments, and the other institutions. For example, I can establish my rules in my classes. One of the rules I say to my students is the way AI can be used. Yes, you can go ahead and use AI to generate some information about how to study or what to study. However, you're prohibited using AI for your written work. So I don't like to see that AI generated writing, and that will automatically makes you to get 0. So that's the norm or rules I created. If you break that rule and use AI for your writing, you will end up getting 0 for your written assignment. So I established a norm in my class, so you will become deviant if you break that norm. So the functions of deviance, therefore, it serves as reinforcing force, the reinforcing of societal norms, reinforcing of organizational or institutional norms by defining what's acceptable behavior and what is unacceptable behavior. So also, when it comes to structural functionalism, we talk about institutional response. Institutions like justice system or any institution, education, function to control deviance and reinforce social norms. In my class, I am the one who reinforced this social norm, the norm I created in my class or rule I created in my class. For the healthcare system can deal with their own norms. If they cannot deal with that, then they will send that case to a justice system or to law enforcement, or not law enforcement, law, like the court system or something like that. So there are institutions can deal with that, breaking of those norms. And also there are specific institutions that deal with the breaking of norms. Now I am going to chat with you a little bit about Robert Merton's essay, which is called Social Structure and Anomy. Anomy is one of the concepts introduced by Durkheim, which is the normlessness in society, according to Anomy, can cause depression and suicide. in society. That is what he called anomy. Robert Merton's essay on anomy is one of the foundational works in sociology and criminology, presenting key ideas related to the causes of deviance in society. I'm just reading from here. The work Merton introduces is on how societal structures and cultural expectations create situations where deviant behavior becomes a rational response for certain individuals. And he builds on, of course, Durkheim and Durkheim's work, and he helps us understand why really deviance happens in society. So we're talking about two things in this Merton's work. One of them is institutional order or institutional expectations, and the cultural expectations and institutional, what is called? Institutional norms. So, anomy, normlessness, refers to the breakdown or weakening of norms and the mismatch between societal goals and the means available to achieve them. So what does it mean? So when the large social changes happen in society, for example, the Industrial Revolution can be one of them. So there is so many changes happening in society, and society is not having enough time to establish their own norms. Therefore, people are unaware of what's going on in society, and that causes them feel like restless, and they don't know what's going on in society. They try to figure it out, but changes are too rapid. And in that kind of cases, it weakens the norms in society, or just people does not know what is the norm because of that rapid changes. At that time, the societal goals and the means available to achieve that goals can become blurry. The Merton's typology argues that certain societal structures, the certain societal structures inherently produce a state of anomy, where that emphasis on success, such as wealth, is there, but opportunities to achieve that is not there. When individuals unable to achieve societal expectations or cultural expectations, they end up doing some things out of norm or against the norms established in institutions. So that is called Robert Merton's deviance typology. So typology is basically types we create to explain certain things. If you look at this picture here, you can see institutional means, and then see another thing, cultural goals. So according to Robert Merton, there are 5 different kinds of people in society based on how they follow the structural goals or cultural goals and institutional means. One of the types is conformity. This is most of the society, is conforms cultural goals and institutional means. What does it mean? Cultural goals can be different for different cultures. For example, we talk a lot about the American dream in USA. American dream is being educated, being middle class, wealthy family, to have your own house and maybe a couple of cars for mom and dad, whatever. And also, like, you need to be able to go and, take some vacations, some nice places, and be able to get education. And that is cultural goals. You're successful if you have a business. You're successful if you have a good job. You're successful if you own your house and cars or toys. That's what is a measurement for success for that culture. That is cultural goals. Some people accept that, and how to achieve that is institutional means. So you have to go through that studying well in high school, and then going to university, getting your education, finding a good job, and getting a good paying job, and slowly establishing your wealth, and getting your house and car, and getting married maybe, and maybe doing a good business. So if you do everything what institutionalized order tells you to do, so you're following cultural goals in institutional means to achieve them. So that is called conformity. And then there are different kinds of types, like innovation, ritualism, ritualism, and rebellion. They deal with this cultural goals and institutional means differently. For example, innovation accepts cultural goals, so they would like to also pursue that cultural goals of having, successful business, successful education and work, and doing your, getting that wealth, like house or cars or whatever you call them, and accepts these goals, however, rejects institutional means. So as we said, institutional means is just achieving them through that institutionalized means by not breaking law. You have to get a job, you have to get a business, you have to do whatever you need to do, but don't break laws. But these people over here, they are maybe innovative, the way they view this institutionalized means. Maybe they are the ones that break the rules and regulations. They come up with different things. Maybe they are the ones that white collar crimes, or other people that just for to achieve cultural goals, they take an innovative way to do that. The ritualism, on the other hand, rejects cultural goals and accepted institutional means. So that means if these people are unable to achieve that societal goals of being successful businessman, successful politician, successful journalist, or professor, or whatever you call them, if they can't achieve that and can't achieve to get that house and car or whatever the wealth is, they don't care. They reject cultural goals. These people sometimes can be people who, stays in the mom and dad's basement and goes to work and comes back, and whatever they get from their work, that's good enough for them. They don't try hard. They just, they accept that, whatever they are making uh, without breaking law, that's what all they can do. So that is ritualism. The ritualism is another type that rejects both. So rejects both cultural goals and rejects institutionalized means. Those people perhaps don't care about societal goals, and then they have no problem breaking law or not following the institutionalized means. They can be the ones that the street crimes, or they can be ones that do small crimes to get some shoplifting and just surviving, right? They don't care about this, they don't care about this, and probably this was just their own way of living. And probably these people or is the ones who, according to Robert Merton, they can get into trouble, right? And there is another type that's called rebellion. So they not only rejects institutionalized means and cultural goals, they think this is wrong. This society is wrong. They have to change this society. These people are rebellion. They probably want a revolution to change society, or they are the terrorists. They want to blow up whole order, societal order. That's what Robert Merton calls rebellion. If you look at here, what I did here was not only explain this stuff, but just provided a little bit of definition or explanation of every ijtimoiy. For example, conformity, this is changing without me wanting it. Conformity is individuals accept both the cultural goals and the legitimate means to achieve them. Most people fall into this category. If another one, if I want to read, this one is retreatism. It's individuals reject both the cultural goals and the legitimate means, retreating from society's expectations altogether. This can include behaviors like substance abuse or dropping out of societal roles and doing small crimes. So this is the definitions of Robert Merton's types. So there is some criticism of Robert Merton's work. I mean, all scholarly work sometimes, often has criticism. And some of the criticisms of Merton's work was that it does not explain everyone is society. You cannot add all these people into these 5 boxes. There's all different kinds of people. They take cultural goals differently. Maybe they don't have to take all of it. Maybe they can take part of cultural goals. Maybe they don't take all institutionalized means, but they will take part of it. So Robert Merton's typology, basically, they argue, fails to include everyone in society and just generalize too much, overgeneralized. However, I do believe that Robert Merton's work gives us some frame to look into society and understand people. So there is another thing we need to think about Robert Merton's typology is the difference between cultural goals and institutionalized means. So the society promotes certain cultural goals, and it can be different for different cultures. And that whatever they think its cultural goals is about success. It's people achieving certain success in society. It can be material success, it can be status, it can be anything. Sometimes education is societal goal. Sometimes in certain societies, being highly educated is itself is a status. At the same time, society provides institutionalized means, that is approved ways of living. It can be education, hard work, it can be business, it can be anything that institutionalized means, in that there is way to achieve that societal goals or cultural goals. Not everyone is equal, and not everyone follows equally to legitimate means. That's why Merton's typology explains how different types of people can live differently in society. And his theory is called strain theory. So Merton emphasizes that social class and the conflict between them is more explained in Karl Marx's conflict theory. However, Durkheim and Merton also pays attention to social class and how that social class affects the level of deviance or who can be deviant in society. And there he emphasizes that the pressures of anomie are felt most acutely by those in a lower socioeconomic strata, people who are living paycheck to paycheck, maybe have harder times in society. Therefore, some of the small crimes committed by them, it's very hard for them to make the ends meet sometimes, right? And they are disadvantaged in terms of access to legitimate means. If you are making enough money, you can have access to better healthcare system, better education, or you can get legal support, if you will. And those are disadvantaged groups have less access to that societal or legitimate means, and they end up taking different roads and often considered as deviants or criminals. This theory links to deviance, particularly crime, to social class. So also we need to understand that not only structural functionalism, but also conflict and symbolic interactionalism says that, the deviance and crime is kind of linked to social classes and how different layers of society affects people to function differently in society. Those who are economically disadvantaged in society or marginalized, they have less access to good jobs. And that means they have less access to good education and good work and good social services. That can lead to strain in society, that can lead to crime. That's what strain theory is about. So another function or another way to understand strain theory is the critique of universalism. So universalism is basically about everyone in society having equal opportunities to achieve success. So critique of universalism is that not everyone has equal access to opportunities, equal access to success. Therefore, there is deviance and crime is socially constructed, and not having good access to opportunities can create frustration in society that he called actually, I think, status frustration. And that changes people's way of viewing society and the roads they take for their living. This critique of universalism is more relevant in capitalist societies. And as you know, in capitalist societies, people who has the means of production, who has the wealth, and all these companies make more money, and those who does not have the means of production, they will sell their labor, and that's the only thing they have. By selling their labor, they are basically giving their freedom to capitalists. Like Karl Marx explains, we will talk about that later. And he says, if you are spending 10 hours of your life to sell your labor, giving that time to the capitalists, the time you're spending at work is not your time. You're not free at the time. You will follow the rules and regulations of that institution, therefore you're not free. So you are selling your labor, selling your freedom to get some resources to support yourself and your families. Therefore, the Merton's critic is that in capitalist societies, people are pressured to, that do certain kinds of, take certain ways to succeed in society. So the opportunities and resources are not equally distributed in society. For Merton, anomie is not just an individual experience, but a societal condition. when large segments of population experience strain due to the inability to achieve cultural goals through legitimate means, it undermines social stability. I just read what I brought here. What does it mean? So that means that, according to Merton, societal changes and anomie, which is normlessness, create this weaker society that is, norms are blurred, also that crime is happening because of this people part of the society going through this strain. Some wealthy people are getting wealthier and part of the society is experiencing hardships. They cannot achieve their societal goals, therefore they're frustrated, which can lead them to commit crimes. High levels of strain lead to increased levels of deviant behavior. So more your situation is harder in society, that you're not making much money, you're going through hardships in society, that can lead to have the increased deviant behavior in society, which threatens social order or legitimate means to achieve them. For example, if there is a lot of shoplifting happening in society, that that people are not following the societal laws and the regulations, that means there is institutionalized means are not enough, or not enough opportunities for people to go and work and afford their lives. So according to Merton, deviance is a functional response to what's going on in society. If norms are too strict and people cannot follow these norms, that also can cause deviance in society, because as we explained in the beginning of the lecture, deviance is based on norms. Norms will define what is right and what's deviance, right? That's why stricter the laws, the deviance is more defined, that that norm, this is the norm and this is deviance. And people, when they do deviate from norms, that is also a functional response to societal norms or measures. Deviance, therefore, can be understood as a rational adaptation to the social circumstance and individuals find themselves in. For example, if one religion is very strict about the members of that religion, their moral standards, and people in the times of globalization, for example, can't follow that norms, that means they're deviating from their institutionalized religious norms. For example, what can be the good example for it? I talked about marriage. So maybe in certain religions, marrying only people in that religion is a norm, and globalization throws people all around the world, and there is more inter-religious or interracial or intercultural marriages, which can be viewed as deviance, right? However, over time, as we said, the norms are fluid, they can be changed. More deviance happens, it will become slowly a norm, which we will be talking in our next classes. So Merton's strain theory has become one of the most influential theories in criminology and sociology. So starting with structural functionalism, that structural functionalists start to get in the areas of criminology and sociology, defining the role of certain things happening in society, such as crime and deviance. It provides a structural explanation of why certain groups in society are more likely to commit crimes or more likely to breach norms and laws and become deviants or prone to deviant behavior than other layers of society. Merton's work inspired many different scholars who worked, that established that theory further, or created different theories that explains the cases or certain areas in society even further. For example, one of them can be general strain theory introduced by Robert Agnew, which incorporates other forms of strain beyond economic strain, such as emotional and social factors. So what happens when people have strain of emotional support? What happens when people don't have other supports in society? So that's the work of Robert Agnew. So there is the summary of key concepts we talked in this lecture. So structural functionalism, one of the grand theories in sociology, and that is introduced by Emily Durkheim. Durkheim's work was expanded and deepened by other structural functionalists. Durkheim does a great job of explaining how social structures, social institutions work together to create stability in society. However, structural functionalism criticized for not being able to explain social change well. Anomy is one of the concepts introduced by Emily Durkheim that is a state of normlessness or societal breakdowns due to rapid changes or things happening in society. Strain is another concept introduced by Robert Merton. It is the pressure experienced when there is a disjunction between cultural goals and the legitimate means to achieve them. That's introduced by Robert Merton, and we call it Robert Merton's typology. There is 5 types of people who go through this life taking different ways to achieve cultural goals and by using institutionalized means to achieve those goals. They have different levels of accepting them and different levels of committing to institutional means. And those modes of adaptation or types are conformity, innovation, ritualism, retrovism, and rebellion. Sometimes I can't say this word. So at the end, deviance is based on the norms created in society. And as we break norms, we are considered as deviants. Deviance is part of society. There are norms, and norms always change. And deviance is one of the ways of changing social norms. And usually in my in-person classes, we have an activity that, the students build groups to work, just create situation. There is a new norm introduced by one of the members, and sometimes people fight that, sometimes they accept it, and that's how norms change in these institutions. So this was a short lecture on structural functionalism, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please write in the discussion board or email me. I'll be very happy to chat with you further. Have a great day.